Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of AJ Podcast. So, today we have a special guest from Google India. So, he's Rahul Jindal. So, Rahul is a director of product from Google. So, hi, Rahul. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, AJ, and thanks for all the work you are doing for the community, calling a lot of people from all over the world. I'm hoping your listeners are benefiting from these episodes. Thanks for
Yes.
having me.
Yeah. So, Rahul, first and foremost, could you tell me a little bit about yourself so our audience also know about you better?
No, absolutely. So I stay in Hyderabad with my wife and son, Kairav. Been with Google just over 10 years now. Prior to this, I was in Australia selling big data solutions to financial services companies there. And prior to that, I spent close to a decade in intellectual property. So I've had a few different careers. At Google, my current role is to lead our work in product success, specifically on Google Ads. Google Ads is a very large business. We've got millions of customers. So how do we make sure that the new launches that we do uh, enable our customers to be successful with those launches? And in them using the product, how do we take their feedback and improve the product on?
So, first and foremost, I would like to ask what are the main challenges that organizations like Google face when it comes to a digital transformation?
Right. So I think Google is a very unique business. We are a very, very large business, right? So, and many sides of the network on which we kind of have a role in. So specifically, if I talk about Google Ads, right? So
Yeah,
Google Ads has millions of companies, large and small, all over the world using our product or products. Uh,
yeah,
because the span is very very large, the needs are very very diverse, so there's no one best way to build out any product or build out any product features. So that's the heterogeneity of the needs of the customer segment is very very large.
mm,
Second is therefore, how do we organize internally to speak to such a heterogeneous set of needs is also a non-trivial problem. And third is, of course, we are, this is Google itself, right? I mean, a highly innovative company. So our launch velocity or ways we can improve our products is many. So how do we make sure that we are using the best from the house of Google, whether it's AI or it's other data infrastructure or other things like that? How do we use them in a way which our customers come to expect from us? So these three dimensions I feel are very unique to Google. The heterogeneity of the business, from the largest of companies to the neighborhood florists might be using Google Ads.
mm,
Second is how do we organize internally in terms of building up professional services and other go-to-market things around the product. And third is how do we use the full value of the Google technology suite in
mm,
doing these changes. So, and then I would also say finally, Archit, is that Google is a company with thousands or hundreds of thousands of very smart people. When you have many, many,
mm,
many smart people, there's no one thing that everybody agrees upon. So, how do we make sure that we, while building consensus, we are also building high quality products and shipping them on time. So, how do you
yeah.
kind of navigate that culture is also important.
Correct. So, my second curiosity is more about how do you ensure that technological advancement and innovation are effectively implemented across the whole company?
Yeah. So this is a very, very large company. We've got, 15 odd products
Yeah.
which are more than a billion users, maybe six or seven products which are more than 2 billion users. So there's
Mm,
not, one company in that sense, but I can talk about the Google Ads side of the
mm,
world being a very, very large business, more than $200 billion.
correct.
So I think it's incumbent upon us because if we have to compete in this market, our customers come to expect the very best from Google, right? So if let's say, especially
Yes.
over the last 3 quarters, the world is thinking and talking a lot more about AI. Now, of course, Google has been an AI first company for the last 6 7 years. It's not a new thing for us. When people talk about
Yeah.
transformers, that technology of transformers was invented at Google. But I think what we also recognize is that specifically when you're building B2B products, what is more important is to do outside in. while also doing inside out. What I mean by that is that make sure that whatever the needs of the customers are, we understand those and use technology to address those, as opposed to being somebody with a problem looking for a solution, or I'm sorry, a solution looking for a problem. That, hey, I have this cool
mm,
piece of technology. Now, how do I force fit
mm,
in my customer? That's not the idea. But yeah, I mean, see, being a very large, visible business, I think customer expectations shape our use of technology, or shape our decision that, hey, this technology may not be ready for prime time just yet. So let's say if you think about maybe AR, VR, I mean, while there is a lot of excitement about those technologies, but business use is not as much. But if you look at let's say AI, and now maybe specifically LLMs, I think that seems to be more ready for prime time. So for example, at Google Marketing Live, a team of our product managers actually launched the use of generative AI in creative, right? Because customers would
yes.
like better creatives when they do marketing campaigns. So that is a very prime time use. That's a great example of using technology which will solve a known customer problem, as opposed to just kind of
Mm.
being just because like technology is cool, just trying to find a use for it. I think we go outside in.
So, could you share some specific example of successful transformation at Google and the lessons you learned from those experiences,
Right.
whatever experience you faced?
Right, no, absolutely. So, like I said, in the Google Ads business, we've got millions of customers. So,
Mm,
as much as we would like to serve all of those customers with human provided services, also, it is just not possible. Does not make commercial sense. So, in the
mm,
marketing life cycle, using Google products, there is a specific activity called optimization, which is about helping a customer with our experts' knowledge on how to
mm,
optimize their spend. So, let's say if somebody wants to spend $1 million on a marketing campaign over the next 15 days. So, how we set
mm,
up that campaign during the duration of those 15 days, what dials and knobs kind of we turn to give them the ROI that they're looking
mm,
for is done through
mm,
a service called optimization. So till about
yes.
2018, we used to provide that optimization service to a few tens of thousands of our customers, right? But when you have millions of customers, and commercially we are only
Mm,
able to provide a free service to only tens of thousands, it feels incomplete somewhere. So in 2018, we actually
yes.
launched a new construct on Google Ads called OptiScore, which was a machine generated way to provide optimization recommendations on the Google Ads front end, which very
Mm,
clearly provided the value that, hey, if you were to implement this recommendation, this is how much efficiency you will get in a campaign, and this is how much reach will increase, etc. Benefits to the customer, very clearly articulated. So we put that on the surface. 1 year after, we were able to achieve a 1,200 times, 1,200 times greater reach of optimization as opposed to providing it manually only. So even though this
mm,
example is comparing 2019 with 2018, so let's say in the year 2018 we were able to do 100,000 units of optimizations. In the year 2019, the customers
mm,
were able to do 120 million themselves. In the year 2022,
mm,
the customers were able to do 50 million. So why that
mm,
example is so top of mind for me is understanding that
mm,
when you enable customers to help themselves, and when you have millions of customers,
mm,
the net impact will be thousands of times more, not a few percentage more. So that actually
mm,
truly transformed how customers take care of their own accounts. That truly transformed how we organized internally, and that was the start of a journey which we call specialization at Google. That we did not need the generalist skill anymore, and we could do the specialist skill. But more than the specialist skill, this is a great example of that enabling self-help in the hands of the customers can truly transform not only you, not only your customers, but the entire landscape.
correct. So now come to the product part more about. So how do you prioritize and manage different transformation initiatives while ensuring minimal disruption to the existing operation?
Right. So I think prioritization is the bread and butter for anybody in a product management or general management kind of a role.
Yeah.
So
mm,
But your question is also that how do we drive transformative things without disrupting what is working today, without
mm.
breaking anything, right?
Exactly.
So let me take those two
Correct.
parts separately. I think in terms of prioritization, Archit, of course, Google is
Mm,
full of very, very smart people, right? So everybody has ideas
mm,
and everybody has hundreds of ideas. But it's very important that everybody with
mm.
the idea is able to articulate the idea in a common language, right? So because Google
Yes.
Ads is a B2B product, so what we try to do is, whoever is submitting any idea for consideration that could become a part of the
Mm,
product roadmap has to also articulate. Let's say if I look at in a B2B setup, anything that you do could lead to
yeah.
more money, it could lead to
Yeah.
lower cost, it could lead to faster time to market, it could lead to greater customer satisfaction. That's pretty much it, right? So
Correct.
whatever the idea may be, we try to see that whatever you're suggesting, which of these four does it
Mm,
impact and by how much, right? So
mm.
if you have 100 ideas, but everybody is able to articulate their impact in one of these four dimensions or more than one of these four dimensions, then we are able to
Yeah.
see that something, if it impacts customer satisfaction by 20 percentage points versus something that impacts customer satisfaction by 2 percentage points, then we know how to compare, right? So
Yeah.
that we know how to prioritize. But the other part of your question is how do we
Yeah.
kind of work on these transformative things without breaking? So I think in a way we are lucky that both from a culture at the company, but then also how our customers have come to expect things from Google is that I think there is an appetite for experimentation, right? There's an appetite for piloting. So I think using that appetite, we try to not launch something, to everybody on day one. We of course try to do percentage
Yeah.
launches. We try to do pilots. We try to label launches with an alpha or a beta, so everybody knows that hey, there may be some benefits to it, but there may be some pain associated with adopting this new thing. And only once we build some
Mm,
confidence that hey, this is working very well, this is a stable launch, would we kind of go more large scale. So how do you make sure that you are able to change the engine of the plane without crashing it, is actually to change small parts of it, right? Don't change the whole of it. But then also, there is always an S curve in every industry, Archit. So we also have that S curve. There are always customers on the outside. There are always employees on the inside who are more excited about new things, right? So how do we
yeah.
identify that early adopter segment, and how do we get them to adopt
Yeah.
early, test it early, flesh it out, and then we kind of send it to everybody? We do that, but we just do
Yes.
it at a thousand times greater scale than.
So, Rahul, how do you approach the process of creating a product roadmap?
Yeah. So I think for us, I'm guessing it is similar in the life of every other product manager in every other company. But for us,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
like we are a very large, very responsible business with
Mm,
allegiance to large number of industries and so on and so forth. So I think its product roadmap is both outside in and inside out. Outside in means that
yes.
in working with the customers, we try to truly understand that how do our products make them successful or not, right? And double down things which
Yeah.
are making them successful and improve on things which are coming in the way of their success. So I think staying very, very close to the customers and building a great deal of empathy with how our products enable them to be winning in the markets that they operate in, right? In the spaces that they operate in, it's very
Yeah.
important. So therefore, obviously, something that will deliver greater benefit to the customer takes a greater precedence. Something and also the number of customers, right? If something will benefit 1 million customers versus 100 customers, and then how large are those customers
Yeah.
for us, what is the size of our relationship, all those go into deciding the outside
Mm,
in priority. In terms of the inside out, I think again I said that
yeah.
benefit to the customer, building products which are very low latency, building products which are very easy to use is very important.
Mm,
So I think it's got to be a mix of both, and it's kind of course we do annual planning of the roadmap, but then also leave enough cycles to incorporate more quarterly or monthly kind of inputs, right? Because we can't go back to customers only once a
yeah.
year to say that okay, now you tell me how it's working. We have to continuously listen to the voice of customer. But I'd say that predominantly our roadmap is governed by what is most important to the customer.
So, as Rahul, you are working for the director. Okay. So how you could communicate with other stakeholders for the for whatever is that? Is it for a roadmap or for other things? What best practices you are using for this purpose?
Yeah.
Because we know the communication is a very important part to communicate anything. So, but yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is something all of us are learning all the time. But I can share my top few ideas there. I think one is ongoing communication is important. I think what makes communication not be effective is you when you do it either inconsistently or very sporadically.
Mm,
So predictable, consistent, ongoing communication very important. Second is I think different types of stakeholders. Uh, like different types of detail, right? Some people will just like the very top. If I am talking to a sales leader, I think they want to know from whatever I'm launching, how will sales grow, right? That's what they want to know. If I'm talking to an
yeah.
operations leader, they want to know that, okay, how do I organize
Mm,
internally to be able to best serve any tickets
mm,
that will come by because of this launch. If I'm talking to
mm,
engineering, they want to know that,
mm, mm,
okay, how do we build it in the lowest possible load way on the machines, etc. And so legal is different, marketing is different. So I think second aspect of communication, I would say, is to understand the language in which your stakeholder talks, right? And I would recommend this book called
mm,
Elements of Influence by Terry Bacon to all your listeners. Uh, and one of the very basic
mm,
things of influence is that people like to be influenced in the way that they influence others. So if your stakeholder is a big storyteller, I think we should tell
mm,
stories to them. If your stakeholder is a big data person, we should influence them with data. If they are more a consulting type person that you
yeah.
take my input, then we take their input. So I think second
Yeah.
point I want to share
Yeah.
is that communication with stakeholders is best done in a very customized way. We should not do one size fits all communication. And then
Mm, mm, mm,
third thing I would say is that to communicate at all levels of the stakeholder organization, right? Talk top to talk middle to middle, talk
mm,
bottom to bottom, right? So if there are more technical people in their teams, we should send our technical person to talk to them. If there are more business people in the
yeah.
teams, we should send our business people to talk to them. If it is a more how will company or life change because of this thing, then we should do that top to top. So engagement and communication at all levels is important. We can't just say that I spoke to the senior most person and that's it. And we can't also say that I spoke to the entry level person in the stakeholder organization and that's it. So I think all of engaging at all levels, engaging consistently, predictably, and speaking the language of the stakeholder.
Mm.
These are the top three things I would share.
Which approach you are using daily, like storytelling or any other
No,
data
all of these I think
points?
depends on the person in front of me. Right? Some of the people I work, yeah,
Person.
some of the people I work with,
Yeah.
they want to know big picture, so we focus on big picture. Some of the people
Mm,
would like
mm,
a detail upfront and
mm,
then a live conversation. Some people need 2 or 3 or 4 meetings to fully build a conviction on something that you're trying to do. So I think
correct.
as painful or as unnecessary that these things may feel to a new product manager, I think
Mm,
we have to understand that this is the name
mm,
of the game. This is influence is a very powerful tool in the hands of somebody in a role like product manager. But influence building is not
yes.
one size fits all. It takes a while.
Mm,
So I think we use
mm, mm,
all of these things. But of course, over a period of time, it becomes easy, right? You get to know which person likes what. I think it is more difficult when you have a new
mhm.
stakeholder because you will try a variety of approaches with them.
Yeah.
You don't know which one will stick. But with existing stakeholders, you sort of know. But I think if there is a relationship and trust, then one can also ask the stakeholder that, hey, how do you like to be given the information? Do you like live chat? Do you want to read things upfront? Do you want me to talk to your team first?
Mm,
Do you want to shadow
mm,
something, etc., etc.? So I think different people, but
mm,
this I feel is a very underused tool in the hands of a person like a product manager. Is that we don't ask our stakeholder. We can just ask
mm,
them, hey, how do you like information to be presented to you? 8 times out of 10, they will give you an answer which
yeah.
will work for you, right? So we don't always have to guess.
So, how do we strike a balance between long-term and short-term goals when designing a product
Right.
roadmap?
So I'd say that anybody in a product manager type of a role also needs to be uh, carrying this mental model of a portfolio manager, right? So let's say, and portfolio manager can be
Mm-hmm.
anywhere, but let's think of maybe financials, right? So if you have 10
Mm,
lakh rupees with you, Archit, right? And you're not going to
yeah.
put all of this in FD. And I hope you don't put all of this in crypto also, right?
yeah,
You'll take a little bit, put it in some
yeah,
portion. So I think similarly, I
mm,
would say that balancing the long term and the short term depends on what is the state of your product, right? Let's say
yeah,
if your customers are very unhappy with the product today, right? They can't get to use it. It's not delivering to their goals, and you only talk to them about long term.
mm,
It's not going to fly, right?
yeah,
Or if your product is
yeah,
quite stable, but your competitors are innovating quite a lot, and you only talk build a roadmap which is short term, it's not going to work, or something in the middle. So I'd say that I
yes,
think it's very important to first start with an honest assessment of that. What is the state of my product, right? Is it working well? Is it what does the business team say? Is it selling well? Not selling well? Depends on the product, right? So I think if the product is in need of innovation, then we need to kind of heavy up there. If the product is in need of right now bug fixing, then we need to focus there, or a mix of it. But I'd say that in general, just at a high
mm,
level, I would say probably I would spend 20% of my time on ideas that will become a part of the product launches 2 years from now. I would spend maybe another 20% of my time or 30% of my time on things that will become a part of the product 12 months from now. And I would spend probably 50 to
yeah,
60% of my time, which is catering to needs which are uh, here and now, right? Which need to be a part of the product from 3 to 6 months from now. Uh, of course, these are just rule of thumb percentages I mentioned. It depends on the stage of the product, right? Depends on the
yes,
and also
yes,
there are other forces like competition can suddenly force you to take something which you had thought would be long term and make it short term, right? Like I'm pretty sure many
yeah,
product managers are now being asked by their leadership to bring in more AI. 6 months ago, that was not the topic, right?
yeah,
So I think
yeah,
just being quite plugged in into how the customer is being served by the competitors is also important, so that we can
yeah.
gear up or gear down.
So, as we talk about business, so always when we do business, always there is a challenge. Okay. So, what are the some of the key challenges typically you face when you scaling the products and how you can effectively
Right.
address them?
Yeah, so for
Yeah.
us, it's a unique business, right? Like I've been saying, Google Ads as a product is used by millions of customers, right? So when you're
Yeah.
serving millions of
Yeah.
customers and millions of customers with heterogeneous needs, I think the biggest challenge for us is to do launches that are meaningful for our customers. Right? Second part
Hmm.
of the thing is that when we are running such a large business, a lot of the customers rely on
Hmm.
in-house teams or their agency teams to use Google Ads, right?
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
launch products or features in a way that their in-house teams find them easy to use,
Hmm.
or their agency teams find them easy to use.
Yes.
So ease of use is a very, very
Yes.
important challenge and an opportunity for us all the time. Because if our millions of customers find our
Hmm.
products difficult to use, then they may not be able to benefit from the latest thing that we've launched. Right? So ease of use is important for
Yes.
me. In my role, it's very, very important that our products are come with enough self-help, right? So that example of optimization score thing that I mentioned, or making sure our help centers are helpful, making sure the product documentation is easily consumable, making sure that the UI is intuitive, making sure that in context help comes in whenever the customer needs it. So self help is a huge topic. Now, of course, I'm talking about a product which is used by millions of customers. But if another product manager is working on a
Hmm.
smaller product, then maybe that's not the top thing for them. But for us, I think it is, of course, important that ease of use is there, ease of self help is there, and the hundreds of thousands of people in the digital marketing industry, they are able to easily
Yeah.
understand what our products are about. That is most important for me as we scale.
So, as another thing is, can you discuss about the localization and customization in building product for specific region or countries? Okay, because as you when you design a product, you always put up the localization and customization and demographics always in your mind.
Right. Right. Now, of course, I mean, when you're a global
Yeah,
business like ours and you have customers from everywhere, I think catering to languages is very important. And I feel very proud of working at a company like Google. In our mission statement, we have that our mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. So when we talk about accessible, right?
Yeah,
So accessible also means
yeah,
that localization and customization is not only by language, is not only by the device form
yeah,
factor, but it is also keeping in
mm,
mind that our users may come from a diverse set of capabilities, right? We may have some users who are visually impaired. So how do we make sure that we build the UI or UX of the product which somebody with visual deficiencies or impairment can also use? And how do we build a
mm,
help center which people who may not be able to read can also kind of dial in and kind of get an audio help. So that is important. So I think localization and customization takes many forms for us. It is language. I think language is a relatively easier thing now, especially with advances in AI, because we have now real-time translation. You and I could be native speakers of very
mm,
different languages, but there is high-quality AI that I
yeah,
speak in my language, you hear in yours, you respond in your language, and I hear in mine, real
yeah,
time. So real-time translation is, of course, a big
correct.
boost to localization in some ways. Of course, customization is
Yeah,
important in a different dimension of form factors, right? Like many countries, like India or some others in Southeast Asia, these markets tend to be mobile first, right? So even for a B2B offering,
yeah,
like Google Ads, which has always been a kind of a website thing, we see that mobile usage in these markets is much more than the website. So just keeping those
yeah,
things in mind, and then also some of our users may be in a spotty internet connection kind of thing. So how do we kind of maybe have more features downloaded for them? How do we send them things more offline? Maybe send them more emails. Also, there's a whole other dimension of how do we reach out to our customers, right? Because there's no one
yeah,
globally used communication platform. Some countries like India are very heavy on WhatsApp. Some others are heavy on other things. There is maybe Line.
yeah,
There's some people use iPhone chat and all that. So I think it is globalization,
yeah,
localization, and customization, and also building accessibility. All of these are a integral part to product. But I would say maybe some of your listeners are product managers for not very global products. So I'd say that while localization, customization,
yeah,
accessibility is important, but I think I don't want product managers
yeah,
whose products don't need localization to spend energy on that, right? I mean, so while localization is cool and
yeah.
needed, but it is not needed for every product. If a product is used by a homogeneous set of users, then why do you need to do localization? So just like with
Mm.
every other construct, I would say that these are also tools in your toolkit, but use them carefully.
So, as for the product manager, user feedback always plays a vital role in developing and designing the new products. So, what role does user research and user feedback playing in designing and iterating product for the next billion
Yeah.
users,
I
according
think
to
it's
you,
a
Rahul?
huge role, right? Like, of course, especially when we talk about
Yeah,
next billion users, these next billion users, their user behavior in general is very different from the first
yeah,
billion users, right? So, for example,
yeah,
users in India or Korea or other places are very heavy on video. Many of these markets are
exactly.
video first markets. Like in India, YouTube.com as
Yeah,
a search engine is as used as Google.com as a search engine. So we have to be
exactly.
cognizant of those things. So I think voice of customer is
Mm,
extremely important. So of course, immersing
mm,
ourselves with the customer. So for example, we are very keen to make Google search more
mm,
visual, because the newer audiences, the
mm,
audience group that we call global youth, right? Global youth is much more
yeah,
attuned to visual formats as opposed to textual formats, right? We can't only give results
yeah,
of the search in text output. We want to do more visual. Now, of course, I may not be youth myself, but then we can always empanel some youth from the markets that we want to build in, and
mm,
try to do a kind of
mm,
focus discussions with them whenever we're trying to launch something new. So that's one. Second, I would say is that
mm,
Google's culture is excellent in terms of one thing, which is called dog fooding, right? So almost every product
yeah,
manager, whether they are building B2B or B2C products at Google, um, have access to our own
mm,
employee base, all right? And we are, of course, a very diverse company ourselves, and we truly build teams which are representative of the diversity of the users themselves. So if that is true, then many
yeah,
times some of the earliest, safest feedback about the direction of the UI UX, or what would customers like or
yeah,
not like, can come from internal people who are also residents in those next billion markets. So dog fooding is a very, very powerful construct for building products at Google, and I would encourage others to also build a dog fooding muscle in the companies where you work. But yes, I mean, I think starting
yeah,
from understanding that next billion users and their behaviors and their preferences are
yeah.
different, and the conditions, by the way, like sometimes internet bandwidth, right? The conditions in which next billion users operate are different than first billion users. That itself, that awareness itself, is start of building high quality products for end users.
So, as Rahul, how does diversity and inclusion in product management contribute to a deeper understanding of diverse users and customer needs and
So absolutely,
preferences?
I really think that you cannot build high quality products or high quality anything, high quality revenue streams, high quality operational systems without high quality thinking. And I think high quality thinking
Mm-hmm.
needs a culture, needs a composition of a team where different people can see the same problem or see the same opportunity from different angles, right? I
Yeah,
actually think that
yeah,
people are able to see things from different angles if they've had different growing up, right? So
yeah,
a man growing up sees the world differently than a woman growing up, right? A man from a tier
mm,
one kind of city growing up sees the world differently than somebody
yeah,
coming from tier three or tier four, right? Somebody with a different sexual orientation sees the world differently. Somebody with a different ability. So let's say if somebody has spent a lot of their life on the wheelchair, they will see the world differently. I think accessibility will be beyond just a word for them,
exactly.
right? Somebody who
Mm,
comes from a
mm,
higher socioeconomic strata would see the world differently than somebody who comes from a lower
mm,
socioeconomic strata, right? Somebody who has lived in multiple different countries will see the world differently than somebody who's lived in one country. So I think
mm,
all of these dimensions ultimately contribute to a different way of looking at things and a different way of thinking. And we hire for these
yeah,
proxies so that people can contribute to a different vantage point. But I think, like you said, diversity alone is not important. Inclusion is needed along with diversity. That you could
mm,
hire very diverse people, but
yeah,
if your organizational culture is such where people can't
mm,
voice out their opinions, then you wouldn't have included them, right? So
mm,
diversity and inclusion, of course, the huge business benefit of that is that you get high quality thinking, and from high quality thinking, you
mm,
build richer roadmaps, you build richer features, and you launch
yeah,
more bug free products because you have already thought about what can go wrong,
yeah,
as opposed to a team where everybody is alike, right?
yeah,
So they are
yeah,
a non diverse team is also a very risk echo chamber
mm,
where one person says something, everybody else
yeah,
agrees. So there's very little high quality debate, there's very little high
mm,
quality thinking, and that is dangerous. So I actually think that
yeah,
diversity and inclusion is not a nice thing to do. I think for corporations and especially teams that build products and teams that build constructs around products, like go to market, like marketing, like
mm.
operations, like legal and all that. I think it's very important to have true diversity and true inclusion if we want to retain our competitive edge.
So, last but not the least question from my side. Okay. So, how can a product managers encourage other team members to embrace a shared vision and work towards a common goal and leverage each other expertise for whatever
Yeah.
they are building?
So I think it is again goes back to the influence point, right? That just because you as a
Yeah,
product manager are excited about something, you can't just simply expect that everybody will share
yeah,
your excitement. So I think, therefore, it's very, very important on a few fronts. I think product managers need to become master relationship builders, right? And relationship building requires a
yeah,
customized approach with everybody, right? You will have a certain way to build relationship with engineer A, versus engineer B versus marketing person
yeah,
C versus legal
yeah,
person D versus a,
mm,
senior person in operations E, and so on and so forth. So I think it's very important that product
yeah,
managers build skills on relationship building. I think it's very important that product managers
yeah,
internalize that it is their job to take others along, right? Uh, I actually think
yes,
that too much brilliance, individual brilliance in a product manager is actually a barrier to them. They may get some one or two promotions
yeah,
quickly, but then they will stagnate. So taking others along is important. So to
mm,
your specific point on how do we build that shared vision, I think shared vision comes from shared
yeah,
trust. Shared vision comes from shared respect,
yes,
right? Shared vision comes from a healthy relationship. So shared vision will come, focus on the relationship, and trust and respect, right? Spend time with people, not on the day when you need them, right? Spend time with them always. Be a good friend, right? So, and then of course, I actually feel that people really like being brought in early. So if you are going to launch something
mm,
3 months from now, if you're building a roadmap by the end of this month, don't talk to them at the end of this month, right? Talk to them today. Say that, hey, here is
mm,
something I'm trying to think
yeah,
about with this benefit to the end customer.
yeah,
What do you feel about it? I have come
yeah,
to believe, Archit, that even if
mm,
you don't exactly do what they told you, the mere fact that you sought their input
mm,
is enough for them to have a buy-in to
yeah,
what you're trying to do. So I think engaging early, being
yeah,
respectful, being trustworthy, building that relationship are very foundational things
mm,
which will deliver to you on the day you
yes,
need to align them on a shared vision or shared responsibility. So work on the
correct.
fundamentals is my key input here.
So, is there anything, Rahul, I missed out? So
Yeah.
please let us all know to our
No, I
audience,
would say
please.
that, of course, I'm assuming that a lot of your audience are people in product management roles or people in product management roles in
Yes,
India. So I think my strong
yeah,
encouragement to everybody is, folks, I think we've been known, India as a country has been known as a services powerhouse. I think it is incumbent upon all of us, all of you, to make India be known for high quality products also. I think many products now,
mm,
especially the companies that came up in the last 5-10 years, do have very high quality products. But I don't think we as a country are known for high quality product management expertise. So I would say that as you build out your own career, please also understand the responsibility that you have towards the country and the image of the country, right? You don't need to be a doctor or a
yeah,
soldier to be patriotic. You can be an excellent product manager and you can still be patriotic. But my encouragement to everyone is pursue excellence. Don't be okay with the bare minimum, because it's not only about your job and your promotions and your product. I think uh, your
yeah,
cohort or your breed or your batch of product managers around, let's say today's 2023, is still very seminal. Is still very
yes,
seminal, right? We can have 100 times more product managers, but we will have 100 times more product managers if India is known as the country where high quality products are built. So please also understand that larger
yeah,
responsibility that you have. So please invest in your skills, listen to Archit's podcasts, follow other product management leaders, join courses, join communities, brainstorm, but obsess about building high quality skills, obsess about building high quality products, because your obsession will not only help you with a stellar career, but your obsession will open up the path for many people, right? In 2023, and I
mm,
went to my B school last year in 2022. I think now in B schools, this product management as a career is picking up, but it is up to you. It is all up to
yes,
all of you, that this should not become a flash in the pan, that it should become a meaningful long term thing. That,
yeah,
we had Sam Altman in the country earlier this week, and somebody asked him that, hey, what
mm,
if we had three engineers and $10 million, could we build some cool AI products? And maybe his answer was misinterpreted, but he sort of seemed to say that no, you can't. What can you do to take that as a personal challenge? That is what I want to leave you with. Is that, your country's future
yeah.
in product management is in your hands and in all your hands. So be world class. Let's build a world class.
So thank you so much, Rahul, for being here, giving your precious time. And last but not least, saying two words to you. Your thoughts and vision is very clear and very prosperous for our country. So thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you
you,
so much.
Archit, for doing this, and thank you for what you're doing for the community.
Yeah.